Newcastle United is a very big football club, it's as simple as that, and all of a sudden Newcastle have turned into survivors. I think they just feel like he doesn't love the club to the point where he's prepared to invest that money and take the club to the next level. But to go from being, playing Champions League football and finish and having the players that were at that football club, to all of a sudden all of that was going out of the door.
You want to make your own stories, you want to be able to pass the stories on to younger fans, but you can't really, there's no ambition from the club.
It's not just about money, it's about wanting Newcastle to be a thriving sporting institution. At the moment it's not, it's a works team for Ashton's company.
A lot of people say Newcastle fans are quite delusional, but just want a team that's good enough to compete.
How things have changed. Newcastle United are now the richest club in the world and the future looks promising. At the time of this video, Newcastle have just drawn with league leaders Arsenal and are in third place on the table. This time last year, after 18 games, they were sitting 19th on the table. How have they turned it around and risen up the table so quickly? Why will the purchase of Newcastle only fuel plans for the European Super League, and why should the big six clubs be worried for their positions in this league? We will also compare their journey against clubs who were acquired by rich owners and see why Newcastle's rise has been more impressive than that of Man City, PSG and Chelsea. As we all know, Newcastle were acquired by the Saudi Public Investment Fund in October 2021. The club is now richer than the rest of the Premier League clubs combined in terms of owner wealth. The city of Newcastle deserved a more ambitious football club. They've been a sleeping giant for the past 10 to 15 years and have won 4 First Division titles and 6 FA Cups, but their last major trophy was way back in 1955. The new owners have shown that they are ready to invest in the club. When they arrived, they promised to back the manager, who was Steve Bruce at the time. They sacked him 10 days later.
What?
They then appointed Eddie Howe, and the club have went on a crazy transformation. The main reason for this turnaround doesn't take a genius to figure out, which is that they've spent a lot of money on players like Alexander Isak, Sven Botman and Nick Pope. Without signings in the January transfer window like Trippier, Guimaraes and Chris Wood, they may not have escaped relegation last season. Eddie Howe has been a key reason for the transformation, and he got Newcastle out of the relegation zone and settled the ship, eventually finishing 11th. But this season they've played better football and the focus has not just been to survive. They are playing like a top team, conceding less, scoring more and dominating games. Last season they conceded 62 goals, which left them 6th for most goals conceded. This season they've conceded the least goals with 11 and have the most clean sheets with 10. Howe uses a 4-3-3 formation and they attempt to keep the ball and press teams more. They average almost 50% possession and regain possession higher up than any other team. We can see how their pressing has increased and are now one of the most intense pressing teams, which allows them to create more goal scoring opportunities by winning the ball close to their opposition's goal. This shows in their goals scored being 4th for expected goals and having scored the 5th most goals. Another reason to credit Howe is his man management. He has got the players to buy into his philosophy, and especially with what he has done with Joe Linton, who was bought as a number 9 in the club's record transfer. He has been poor throughout his time at St James's Park, but since his arrival, Howe has changed his position and played him in midfield, and Joe Linton has gone on to be one of the best players this season for the club. What has been really impressive is their ability to compete with the big six already. This season they've beat Spurs and Chelsea and drawn with United and City, only losing to Liverpool. If we compare their growth at this stage post-takeover to PSG, City and Chelsea, then Newcastle are arguably the most impressive considering where they were. Chelsea were a Champions League club when they were bought by Abramovich. They finished second in their first season to the Arsenal Invincibles team and got to the Champions League semi-finals, then won the league in their second season. Although impressive, they spent 150 million in 2 summers and were already a team challenging for Europe. This makes Chelsea more similar to PSG, who had finished 5th the season they were taken over by Qatar Sports Investment Group. PSG also won the league in their second season after being acquired. An accurate comparison would be Man City, as City also finished mid-table after being acquired. Similar to Newcastle, City's new owners spent money straight away by breaking the British transfer record on their first day of acquiring the club to sign Robinho. People wondered why a player of Robinho's calibre would go to City, but it turned out Robinho thought he was signing for Manchester United. He claims he was misled by all parties, not knowing there was another club in Manchester.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
It took the new City group 3 years to win their first trophy with the FA Cup and 4 years to win the league. and I expect a similar time frame for Newcastle to achieve domestic success. The scary thing for the league is how quickly Newcastle have risen considering their position a year and a half ago. They are already showing great progress, and although Newcastle may not be the most glamorous city in the world compared to London, Paris or Madrid, if they can offer European football next season, they can attract almost any player they want, which will only speed up their progress. They also won't need to sell any of their best players such as Saint-Maximin or Almiron, and can build a spine for the next decade similar to how Chelsea had Cech, Terry, Lampard and Drogba, or City with Company, Silva, Toure and Aguero. It's arguably much harder to break into the top 4 now than it was 10 years ago, with the gap created by the Big Six financially, but I believe Newcastle will win the league within the next 5 or 6 years, and can very possibly replicate what Man City have done in dominating the league. However, if this doesn't happen, the Premier League will become more competitive, with potentially at least 7 clubs consistently competing for the top 4 spots each season, which the Big Six clubs won't like, as this will mean less money for them and more competition. This will also affect European football as a whole. The Premier League will only continue to gain more popularity and broadcast revenue in comparison to the other European leagues. Now at this point, the Premier League will basically become a Super League, and this will only push for clubs such as Real Madrid, Barcelona and Juventus to pursue the Super League even further to ensure their survival as top teams in Europe. If you've got to this point, then thanks for watching, and subscribe or click the like button if you enjoyed, and leave a comment on your thoughts on this topic.